Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen podcast. This week I am Paul Machin, joined in the studio by Ross Chanley and from home by Chris Pajak and Lauren Black as well for this one. I can't wait to dive into things. We're going to start with some kickoff questions because that's what we do here on the podcast. Later on we're going to be discussing a last sort of bit on the Aston Villa game and how Liverpool managed to get through that one and some of the media fallout, shall we say, from it. A bit more on the FA Cup draw and, of course, with United looming. But also, just before we went live, we found out that Liverpool women's boss, Vicky Jepson's going to be leaving the role. And obviously, as we've got Lauren in, our expert on all such things, we'll be discussing that later on as well. But yes, the first kick-off question, Ross, comes from Super Sadio at Buffalo's Salami on Twitter. Yeah, nailed that. I don't know whether I got onto the fact that I lost commitment to how to say that. Yeah. Progressively as I read through it. Do. Yeah, letters sound.
It's definitely Buffalo Slam YouTube.
Buffalo's Lamb Whitey. Yeah. Or Buffalo Slammy tea. Who knows? There's no way of. Would you rather, Ross, Liverpool win every Merseyside derby for the rest of time but never win the league again, or Liverpool lose every Merseyside derby for the rest of time but win the league every season? I think there's a really obvious answer to this, and the only person I think who would proffer a different answer to this is currently behind the scenes stressing because he fucked the sound up on the first attempt of the podcast. So we might hear some screaming through the wall in a moment, but go on. Sizes always win the league. Wow. Okay, go on.
Yeah, I think it would hurt knowing that you weren't going to win the Merseyside derby again, but that stops them from winning the league, and we win the league every season. I'm fine with that because they're not winning anything else, are they? Mm-hmm. Not going to win the Champions League, they're not going to win the Carabao Cup, not going to win the FA Cup. So if they get another 25 years of winning nothing, I'm all right with that, and us winning the league every year.
Yeah. It's definitely Lauren, I don't think were you even alive at a time when Everton were used to beat Liverpool on a regular basis? You certainly were. In fact, what year were you born, Lauren?
99.
So you haven't even been alive while Everton have won a piece of silverware. So could you live? But you've grown up in this world. Do you think you could actually could adapt to a world where Liverpool didn't beat Everton anymore?
It's hard because I don't think I could, because I've never, obviously there's been a couple of derbies when I was younger and stuff like that they've won, but us winning pretty much every single one of them since has been amazing. But then on the other hand, what Ross has said, as much as you'd love to win every derby, you'd love to win the league every season, because I think they'd hate that even more, because they go on about winning the derbies, but we can only say, we won the league the last 10 years, so what are you going on about?
When's the DVD coming out, lads?
No, 100%. Yeah. They would. That would they'd be forced to do. I mean, God knows the AJ final. Good to see we've got another little guest on the podcast there. It's good to see Lara Pajak looking resplendent in pink this morning. One thing that Chris and I had to kind of suffer was that world in the 90s where, Liverpool weren't winning the league, but we consistently were finishing above Everton in the league. We were still winning the occasional bit of silverware and what have you, but they would win derbies, and it was still horrible, Chris, because it doesn't kind of matter, because what Evertonians are very good at doing, and I'm sure you remember this argument, is you finished the Bulls, but we beat you, so we're better than you.
Yeah, it's it doesn't cut it in the social media age, that argument, though, does it? An argument where people would just come back with stats and all that type of stuff. So look, out of interest, Lauren, what month were you born in?
June.
Okay, so Everton have only won one derby at Anfield in the time you've been alive, and that was September 1999. Never mind trophies, you know what I mean? Ridiculous, isn't it? But look, the question's easy. Everyone knows the right answer. And Ross kind of hit the nail on the head. You're also guaranteed that they're never winning the league. And it wouldn't take long for Everton fans to realise that we'd done a deal with the devil. And do you know how much that would piss them off? Oh, God, because they literally chose to get beaten by us every year, but we're never going to win the league again, ever. They would absolutely fume with that. And I'm totally fine with it.
There's Evertonians who would take that. Who would take the same option though. They would take not winning the league but beating us, and not loads. By the way, yeah,
not winning the league. So I mean, it's just they guarantee themselves to win a derby, which makes it the season for them.
That would probably be a pretty sweet deal. It's all about perspective, isn't it?
They wouldn't have to be Liverpool at this pace either. It'd just be win a game of football.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, they're up and down, aren't they? Right. Okay. Well, another kick-off question, just to kind of mix it up and sidestep away from the footy before we dive into the footy chat. There comes from Christian G. He says, if you had to become an animal for the rest of your life, which animal do you choose to be, Ross?
I'd be a monkey.
You'd be a monkey?
I'd be a monkey, yeah.
Okay.
I like monkeys.
Because you're cheeky?
Yeah. Are you climb shit?
Yeah. Cool.
Healthy diet, eat bananas, whatever else is thrown at you. Yeah. Destroy cars at Knowsley, laughing.
Yeah, get to throw your poo at passers-by without repercussions.
That's to be fair.
You do live in Kirby. Anyway, Lauren, what animal would you be?
I'd probably go with like some type of bird, like an eagle or something. I think just being able to fly anywhere you want would just be the best option right now, I think.
Yeah, Did
anyone see that video flying around, like one of those viral videos? I don't know how old it is, where the bird's running down, like there's a kid running down the street and the bird's just pecking the kid. And it's running down the street. I just imagine that would be hilarious. Carlo Ancelotti goes for a newspaper there, Warren, as an eagle, just going in for Ancelotti or something. Brilliant. That's a great choice.
Yeah, go on, Chris.
My theme on these, because I've got a couple here. My theme is I think the world's in a really bad place at the moment, so I want something that's fairly indestructible. Like Trump's still in power at the moment, and you know what, that mad bastard might do something insane. So I'm gonna go for like the immortal jellyfish that just goes back to a polyp every time it senses danger and just rebirths itself and just lives forever like that. Or like a tardigrade, something like that. It's like a little insect that's basically indestructible. They found them at like the top of mountains. They found them in the water, and it can actually survive in space. So if you need to get off this planet, I mean, you'll have to get on a rocket somehow, and I'm only 1.5 million big, but I'll find a way, and I've got plenty. I reckon I can do it, and I can survive in space if needs be. So I don't even need to get into like a passenger compartment. I can just hitch a ride and hope I don't burn up.
Oh, wow, there you go. Yeah, I mean, if anyone expected anything less than a thoroughly thought out and detailed answer from Chris Pajak, then you've obviously not been following us for too long. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, if I had to guess at what Chris Pajak would have picked, that wouldn't have been up there. My immediate response to this was just cat, because you just get to chill all the time, and then and you can have as much attention or as little attention as you want. That's the thing I always appreciate about cats. I think dogs are morons and they're too much work. Whereas cats, like you can get like the love and attention, but if you go too far, and yet at the same time the owners come back for more, will try again. They'll never be off put by a cat scratching them. So no, but I think something like, to be honest, something like a tortoise or something that just lives forever, gets the same level of chill as a cat, probably slightly less of the love, but just goes at this slower pace. Nothing would bother you, nothing would concern you. You've got that shell, you've got portable housing.
Pick you up and drop you in the...
And what?
Yeah.
There you go, just move me to another corner of the earth for a bit, like, you know what I mean? Why not? There you go, like relocation, like emigrating, it's great. Right, let us know your animals.
Not to sign a Brexit form for being a turtle leader, would you ever talk about?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Oh, that's stress.
Definitely. I'm sure Farage should have his way and try to make something like that happen if he thought it was possible. If he thought he could gain political or social media currency for it, he'd be all over Brexiting turtles or whatever. Right, Sals, we're going to be discussing the FA Cup. The third round just gone and the fourth round looming, and the draws. We got some super chats as well that we're going to talk through, as well as I say United at the weekend, and obviously a little bit on the Liverpool women's team at the moment with Vicky Jepson leaving the role. So stay tuned, we've got a little advert for you about a wonderful, fantastic piece of content that's available over on the website right now, and then we shall return.
Fight like crazy, go for each ball, run more, fight more, jump higher. That's what we have to do.
From Basel to Madrid, back to Anfield and everywhere in between, it's hard to believe it's now over 5 years since the mad, brilliant Jurgen Klopp took over as manager of Liverpool Football Club and single-handedly turned us all from doubters to believers. We've laughed, we've cried, we've had incredible let-offs and disastrous heartbreaks. It's safe to say it's been one hell of a ride, but at the end of a long year for everyone, let's not forget that 2020 brought with it a whole new chapter of unforgettable Klopp moments. And here at the Redmen TV, we thought this Christmas would be a good time to sit down, look back and reminisce at just all of the brilliant Jurgen moments that we've seen unfold since the day that changed everything in October 2015. So sit back, have a glass of mulled wine and a mince pie, and join us as we look back at the 50 biggest moments of the Jurgen Klopp era, as voted by you, the Redmen TV fans.
Hey, welcome back. Yes, you can get our two-part special, the 50 greatest moments of the Jurgen Klopp era so far, on the redmentv.com right now. If you sign up, you get access to all of the incredible content, loads of documentaries, wonderful interviews with Liverpool legends and current players and managers and all that good stuff as well to get you through a trying time. Plenty of stuff to keep you smiling, even if the Reds aren't absolutely must, which fortunately they absolutely are. So yeah, no bother, go and sign up right now. Yeah, there's plenty of additional stuff there if you want to become a club legend. Subscribe over on there as well. You get loads of bonus features, which are too many for me to go into right now, but I do advise going and checking it all out. Right, Ross, Villa. One more time for you guys into the breach on this one. I was off, so I haven't talked about it. I need to talk to someone about it. I thought it was an almost lose-lose situation for Liverpool because of all the context around the game. And that's kind of highlighted by Tony Cascarino saying about he would have liked to have seen Klopp show a bit more respect by also fielding an under-23s team in this game to kind of try and match the level of Aston Villa or whatever, which only further serves to highlight the damned if you do, damned if you don't. Liverpool... The only way Liverpool could win that game was just to win it and then forget about it.
Yeah, I don't take anything that Tony Cascarino says after his...
former Millwall, Villa, one of the Irish teams, and now Renter Blair. Tony Cascarino.
Some of his headlines in some of his articles, I think the last one was Salah's dad was an insult to Nobby Styles or something. He's like, yeah, blurt. Exactly. Yeah, but it was just really hard circumstances. We spoke about this quite a bit on Friday and Thursday. Actually, even ourselves trying to get ready for it, of what was going on, what wasn't going on, how do you prepare yourself. Klopp would have done a load of work, tactical things about, how do you monitor Jack Grealish and John McGinn, the fullbacks and stuff like that, all went out the window. So they didn't know their arse from their own themselves. So how can you then go under 23s? Okay, Aston Villa had to do it, but it's not our fault, is it? Is it really? Just go and do it. So I think he paid respect by fielding the team that he did, to be honest. Yeah. You've got to look after yourself in some respects and go, certain people on that team needed game time. We needed confidence because we hadn't had the best run of results or form, or even the way that we played recently hasn't been great. So just like you said, just to go and get a win was the important thing. The first half was not great, if I'm being honest.
No, if nothing else, Lauren, it kind of gives weight to this notion, or weight against the notion that Klopp doesn't give a shit about the cups. It shows me really that he just sees them as a game. And he was always going to... I think he pretty much fielded the side he was going to field. Now, there's a chance that maybe made a couple of tweaks, and maybe just in terms of minutes of several players. But the fact that he put a team out of that quality says to me that, yeah, he was... I appreciated him doing that, and also it's because it's a game of football, it's a professional game of football, and Liverpool have actually got bigger fish to fry, and having lads up to speed is far more value to him than any perceived injustice that Liverpool are delivering to Aston Villa there.
Yeah, he's had it for a couple of seasons now, hasn't he? Pretty much since he came in, the fact that he's fielded weaker teams when we played in the cup competitions, and sometimes you think that's probably the better option, but in this case, the fact that he did pick a full-strength team probably was the best thing for us. Obviously, there's more minutes for the likes of Thiago. Shaqiri comes off the bench and gets some good minutes in the tank. Same, Mane and Salah got a good few minutes. Bobby then comes on later on. He pretty much probably played everyone he wanted to play. The fact that, he gets stick when he fields a weaker team, and then he gets stick when he fields a good team, regardless of the opposition, obviously just means he can't win either way. But yeah, I was happy to see the starting 11 and see that it was, a good strength side, even if it was against, a couple of teenagers.
Yeah. I mean, it got to be everything it needed to be, didn't it? Sorry, go on, Ross, you got a point to make?
I was going to say, did Turing Cascarine write an article last year about Villa disrespecting the cup and them fielding under 23s when we couldn't play?
Yeah, probably not.
No, I'm going to say no. I was going to search for it. I thought, no,
yeah.
He wouldn't have done that, will he?
Yeah, look, I mean, because it worked out almost the best again it possibly could have done, as Liverpool got away without any great deal of embarrassment. The fact that the goals were loaded toward the back end of the game meant people left with a little bit more of a spring in the step than they probably would have done if the game had been flipped around. And you get the Louis Barry moment. You get to see all the Liverpool players swapping shirts and all the Instagram posts off the Villa kids after the fact and all that. It ends up actually being a surprisingly a new way of describing the magic of the cup kind of thing in some regards.
Yeah, I really liked that side of it, to be honest with you. It was wholesome content after the game, really, wasn't it? Being on Twitter and stuff like, and the fume hadn't quite died down on the evening. And, we did the instant match reaction, all the shows, and then the final word afterwards. And I went through Twitter and stuff after we'd done it all, and you could see the fume was still there. Because people were annoyed at the performance, and that's tagged on to the fact that we've had a few bad results before that, and people are starting to get nervous and worried, and obviously we've got Manchester United on the horizon and stuff. So the best thing for us really was, as Lauren says, to play that side and try and play themselves into a bit of form. Like, there was some good football that was played there. I think the introduction of Thiago and Shaqiri especially has got everybody talking and excited to see them two in the side, which we'd not had for a week or so, really. Especially around, we've had it around Thiago, but we've not had that around Shaqiri. And I think now the entire fan base is sort of starting to see what he can bring and stuff. And, people are getting excited to see what they can do because they just bring us something a little bit different to what we had. So, yeah, some real positives to be taken out of the game if you can just forget about the first half performance.
Yeah, that's all we're really looking for, isn't it? Because we said this, didn't we? Because in the build-up to it, is that a bad result there, regardless of the context of the game and the competition and all that, gets lumped in because it can't not, because football's a game of emotions, and you can't, we all need Liverpool to make us feel a little bit better about ourselves, more so now than ever. So yeah, having those positives to take away, and again, I'm not even asked. I nearly put the question up on Twitter, but I couldn't think how to phrase it several pints in. But like, is it possible to be like sexually attracted to someone's footballing ability? Because like Thiago, honestly, like, I've watched football all my life, and even though he's come into a game where he'd be the best player on the park largely against some of the best teams in the world, if not all of the best teams in the world. But just watching him play football is a wonderful, wonderful experience, and that was no less true on Friday.
He was absolutely brilliant. He was superb. And the thing is with him, right? He's got this like. Basically, Bobby Firmino's there, and you've seen that beer, that hold my beer meme, and Bobby Firmino's there with his no-look goals from a yard in front of the goal, and Thiago's in the centre of the pitch, blindfolded, playing passes to the likes of Shaqiri and stuff. Like, he just takes the absolute biscuit. Everybody and their mum thought that ball was going to, I think it was Nico Williams on the right-hand side, and he plays it through two lads to Shaqiri, and Shaqiri's like, oh shit, it's for me. I thought it was going to Nico Williams, and he panicked and almost hits it first time for the assist because he's scared of the ball coming into him. Like, no, it's just brilliant, mate. He's just an absolute joy to watch.
I have a sneaky feeling, Lauren, that he'd be like in another world, another universe. He'd be one of those people who like throws knives at people blindfolded when you've got like a beautiful assistant on a turntable or whatever. There was that moment, Chris referenced the moment where he does like a little give and go with Bobby, and I watched it live, and then I watched the highlights, and I like had deja vu. I played the same thought in my head of like, oh my God, imagine if these two get to link up. Like, just these two special, stupid, talented, skillful, creative lads just get on the pitch a bit more. The magic that we might be able to see.
Yeah, he's amazing, isn't he? I think you're absolutely right. Like, his ability to link up with pretty much any player on the pitch is unbelievable. I think there was like a couple of times as well where he's pretty much like next to Fabinho, and he's playing like balls like backwards, like to like whoever else is behind him. Like, he's willing to try anything, And whenever he gets on the ball, you know there's going to be a good pass at the end of it, or something. There might be something that's going to come from it, and that's probably what we've missed, especially in like the couple of games. A Fulham away, you missed that little through ball, or when we played Brighton or anything like that. You're thinking in your head, if he'd have stayed fit through those games, could have been him and Bobby or him and Sal linking up in those last couple of minutes to get that goal that we needed.
It's funny, Ross, because we don't often buy the finished article. So, like, we've had players before who will try passes and they'll try anything. Mario Balotelli would try anything, but when you watch them do it, you're like, oh wow, what a phenomenally talented footballer. But you knew it wasn't practiced, and you knew it didn't come from experience. He didn't I remember this game 1,500 games ago. I played this ball and I've learned from this kind of mistake. It's so telling. We've had a few lads who've been a bit like that, but toward the tail end. So we got a little bit of Yari Littman, and we got a couple of seasons of Gary McAllister, who's very much like this as well. And there'll be other examples which people can scream at me in the comments for. But like Virgil and Alisson are our most recent examples of that in this team. When you bring in lads who just know their role, know what they're doing, it's so blindingly obvious. It's so comforting to watch people who've got. It's why people like Batman. Because there's something encouraging about watching somebody do the job who you know is the best in the world at their job.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to fit Batman into this, but I think that comes with experience, and like you said, you can tell, but you could tell in that game, within the 2 halves, Thiago comes in at half-time. The first half was kind of recycle possession, just loofing balls into the box at no one. And again, what Lauren's talking about there, the past couple of weeks when we've had those games, I don't know a game that's where Thiago's missed that this hasn't been a game for Thiago. 10 minutes into a game, we need Thiago in this game, and people are probably right as well, because it's that ingenuity and that thought process to do something different, which we don't have, and that's what you get with obviously you mentioned a few players there, but you get something different within that link-up play, but it's a thought process behind it, and not, I think we've accused Liverpool of being predictable, or if you nullify the fullbacks, or if you get people into the box, what have you got next? Well, we've had nothing really like the people that you've mentioned until Thiago comes and goes, well, I'm going to do this, and this. Even our own players, like Chris says, to the extent of they don't know what he's going to do. So how can the opposition predict what he's going to do? Therefore, you unlock the final third.
He's just magic. He's just absolutely magic, and I can't wait to see a little bit more of him. Hopefully that that 45 minutes there is another important sort of milestone in getting him ready for the big games that are to come, and there certainly are a few of those. Not least of all, now that we know the FA Cup draw, Chris, obviously we did a special reaction to this last night, so if people want a bit more in-depth thought on this, then go to the redmentv.com, watch that show now. But just we touched upon this point, Chris, so I think but it is an interesting one. It's the one that people have carried away from this draw more than any. It's genuinely ridiculous how many top teams Liverpool get in the early rounds of the domestic cups. And again, there's this running narrative of Klopp disrespecting the competition, etc., etc., etc. It would be nice to see if we had the draws that Man City had, let's use that as an example, I would just be fascinated to see how well we would have done in those competitions if we'd flipped fixtures with them for the last 3 seasons, say.
It's an interesting hypothesis, really, isn't it? I think, I'll come back to you with another one, Paul, and I think people can probably answer this in the comments as well. Do you think Klopp's actually gone stronger in this competition than he perhaps would have done if we'd got an easier draw? And then if you answer that yes, then he's not disrespecting the competition, is he? I mean, like you mentioned it yourself, that team of kids that knocked Everton out isn't actually a team of kids. There are professional footballers who were in the first team squad there, and lads who were on the fringes and are now first team footballers in the squad. So it's an interesting one, because I think he probably does go slightly weaker in the competitions if we don't get the draws that we're getting. And it's about who's willing to risk a little bit more. I think sometimes when the two big teams go head to head in the earlier rounds, and who's going to go slightly stronger, and what's the bare minimum you can do to try and squeak past, and almost sort of a bit like poker, where you're seeing if someone's bluffing, are they going to play the full send side, are they not? So it actually makes it a really difficult, not just because the team's good that you're facing, but also because you don't know how the other manager's going to think about it, and no one really wants to get embarrassed by putting a side out that's dead weak against, like Frank Lampard, for example. If you get Chelsea, or let's talk Man United, if you get Man United, they put a dead strong side out and you put a dead weak side out, you end up with probably egg on your face there. So they almost it's a battle to what type of side you put out before you even get into the football. So it's like twice as hard.
I think that's an interesting point, Lauren, is that, there's another level to the game when I think it comes to cup football. And, first and foremost, I mean, the difference between in recent years, and I think it's less true at the moment because Liverpool are on top, of course, but Pep Guardiola's situation and Liverpool's situation is Liverpool haven't quite had the squad to be able to go deep in as many competitions. And it's been Liverpool's quest to just win a league title took far more prevalence. Man City can afford to go 2 or 3 seasons without a league title. Just it is how it is, and they can afford to then to focus their attentions and spread their attentions a little bit thinner. Klopp's playing this game where he is his primary focus. We all say that even the people among us who say I want us to go harder in the FA Cup would still be dead upset if we then got our best players injured in an FA Cup game and then fucked the league title.
Yeah, I think at the beginning of this season I said, I'd love to us to get an FA Cup or have a good cup run because it's something we haven't had for a while. But also on the other hand is you want us to have a really good run in the league and you want us to have a really good run in the Champions League. So sometimes you've got to sacrifice a competition in order to do well in the others. And we proved that last season. We sacrificed a few competitions in order to go further in the league. And I don't see that as a bad thing. Like you said, obviously the leagues took us all, all our attention so far these last couple of years. But the thing with Man United is because we played them in the league and then we play them in the cup again, literally a week later, the league game now becomes a bit more high profile because depending on what happens in that game then goes into the cup fixture as well. So you kind of don't know what to think about either of those games at the minute.
It works both ways, doesn't it, Ross? Because I think if we beat United in the league, then the FA Cup, I don't think it becomes a free hit because I don't think we should be so dismissive of another piece of silverware at this point and an opportunity to get a few more games under our belt for certain players, etc. But I think the win there, more so for Liverpool than anything, it does ease the pressure on the next game, and it absolutely, I think it ramps it up even more for someone like Solskjaer.
Yeah, it's hard to say as a fan, isn't it? But you used that example before, the Everton game when we fielded the kids or whatever it was. Klopp doesn't do that. Doesn't use emotion for games. I think when you were talking before, is there a difference between fielding a weakened side and squad management? Mm-hmm. Now, I think there is. Now, I think that's what Klopp does when he goes into these FA Cup games.
Klopp isn't the man who set the precedence of second choice goalkeepers playing in cup games. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I'm not saying you're saying that. Yeah. What I mean is the precedent of playing a slightly weakened team in domestic cups predates Jurgen Klopp's arrival in English football.
So therefore he's trying to manage the squad that he's got. I know Chris mentioned if you got Chelsea or whatever else, which we did last season in the FA Cup and they knocked us out. I think we rotated or squad managed in that one because we had to. I think he would have done the same for Aston Villa had there been 2 midweek fixtures either side. Now it just happens so that we have Man United till Sunday. So those players in the first team or first choice players needed the game time that we mentioned before, so they had to play. This one's slightly different in the fact of what we've got. Man United, is it Burnley after that? Then Man United and then Spurs. We've got a tough run of fixtures coming up, and even after that, you got to think long term as well. I think we've got Man City coming up, and I think sides of Leicester and Everton. I think he does take one game at a time. So if we get one up on them in the league, I'm fine with that. And then I'd also understand if he was to rotate or manage his squad for the FA Cup game, because what does it do in the long run? Again, what you just mentioned there, injure more players or jeopardise your league run. The league is so tight now. Yeah. That's why you can't call it. If we were 9 points clear, 12 points clear, I'd go full strength because we can afford to rest in this one, but we can't.
Our style of football, Chris, demands high intensity and high quality. And that means I think you have to preference competitions because you can't play your best team in 38 league games plus every other additional, particularly if you go deep in the Champions League as well. And I think that's a lot of what it boils down to, is that I think the idea that I think this season was meant to be the first real example of it, but I think COVID's absolutely undermined that, unfortunately, and COVID plus and the knock-on impact of injuries and fitness and all that kind of stuff. But in previous years, we've had to rotate lads out because the main men, you just need them fit for the league. As Ross says, you're going up against Man City, you don't drop points. So you can't afford to be like, okay, well, I'm just going to throw someone who's nowhere near ready into a game and take me world-class players out. For what? For the FA Cup? Like, that's that's Liverpool's entire system is built around this, and unfortunately, if you start to mess around with any fundamentals of it, we could have undermined the biggest prizes we've been trying to achieve in those years.
Absolutely, and it all harks back to how your clubs run, doesn't it? I mean, there are a few clubs in world football who could go deep in every competition because they've got masses of money and much more money than everybody else in their league. Manchester City are one of those clubs, unfortunately, and they've got, huge wage bills. They've brought lads in for how many £1 million of fullbacks have they brought in over the years? They've got to get those lads happy. They've got to keep those lads happy as well. Like Liverpool don't have that, where we don't have that like fringe players where you've kind of got to keep them happy because we just don't have as big a squad as Manchester City. So look, if Liverpool had bought a squad for the circa £1 billion, right? 2 billion quid or whatever, then I would say absolutely you've got to win these competitions because we've got 30 lads who are all world-class footballers and stuff. It would be a priority for me then, but it's not, because that's not the club that we are. And you're absolutely right, the intensity of football means that you've got to rest lads. If we had 30 lads like the first 11, I'd be saying we should be winning the FA Cup every year. We just don't.
No, it's true. If the FA, and it's one of them things, is again, this isn't Jurgen Klopp's fault, Ross. The fact of the matter is, there's tiers to this shit, and the FA Cup is not a top tier competition. And that's not me to like deliberately trying to be inflammatory about it. It's not. You don't win a Champions League place for winning it, and you don't win lots and lots of money for winning it. It's probably and again, for a number of clubs, you're better off finishing 5 places higher in the league than you are winning the FA Cup. Just in terms of you want to keep your club turning over, which is sad because it shouldn't be that way. The FA Cup is the greatest cup competition. So loads of people talking last night about saying things like what they should be seeding it. It's like, no, they shouldn't be seeding it. The beauty of the FA Cup and no other domestic cup competition is in world football is as good as the FA Cup because of the beauty and the purity of it, and the fact that you can start a Sunday league team. Look at #United. You can literally invent a football club and play and get it up to a level, and it can enter the FA Cup. And because you can enter the FA Cup, it means you can win the FA Cup. Now, obviously, you can't, but you can. You technically can do that. But at the moment, it doesn't yield the rewards. So it's understandable. If you've not got the resources, you have to manage the resources that you've got, and the FA Cup will fall inevitably down the pecking order.
Yeah, for prestige and monetary values, as you mentioned, but what's it doing to the rest of your season? Now, if Liverpool beat Leipzig and go further, and then you still got FA Cup games. Well, we've got 2 more before that anyway. I think, and then you've got to try and fit that into your fixtures. This season is just mental as it is. Why hamper yourself with more fixtures? But also, I think this conversation is a lot easier without the injuries that Liverpool have got. So, you're talking FA Cup games where, Jota might come in for one of them, or Shaqiri we mentioned, or Origi never even featured, the other day, and you start to wonder what's happening for his career. So, like Chris said, the number of people that you've got at your disposal becomes smaller and smaller. Your game time, your resting time, preparation time gets smaller. It just... For Liverpool, and again, I'm not looking down on it either, my priorities would be the league and the Champions League. Yeah. So, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
Yeah, I think the thing is, Lauren, is it's the FA Cup this season in particular, because I don't think anyone really understands what football's going to look like in May. And I mean that is like, we've seen a glut of injuries across the league already this season, and ramped up and exacerbated across the entire league by the time we reached December, when everyone was playing 2 games a week. I don't think people can predict accurately what's going to happen at the tail end of the season, when the full toll is weighing heavily on legs and joints and all that kind of stuff. So it's weird because you might give something back by not being in the FA Cup, so you might increase your chances of having a little bit more left in the tank for the big stuff, but you might also need the FA Cup this year, I think, just to keep you tided over. So let's just say for some reason you fall away in the league, or you fall a little bit short, and Man City just come storming through and they're just better set. You lose to a random goal in the Champions League. We'd probably all be a lot more welcoming of the FA Cup in the back end of the season in those kind of environments. So that's, for me, not only does it give some more opportunities to get players fit and keep players sharp at the moment while we've got them, but yeah, we might find that we actually could use the FA Cup in a few months' time.
Yeah, definitely. I think your attention's only on the big games when they come, and obviously all our attention's on the league at the minute, given the circumstances. And then when the Champions League comes back around, all our attention will be fixed on that. But like you said, if we're not in the Champions League and we do fall away in the league, and there's still an opportunity to win a silverware in the FA Cup, you're 100% going to be invested in that. So yeah, it's difficult to sort of say now, oh, do we give up on the FA Cup and focus on this, or do we keep going? Because, you know, you just never know what's going to happen, like you said.
It's circumstantial, I think, a lot of this, Chris, because funnily enough, I think the January game, I think Klopp genuinely detests cup football in January because we play so much from November till the end of December, and the third round always seems to fall at an awkward time. We've run the players into the ground, and I don't think he's willing to not run his players into the ground because it's been yielding results. They've both been important spells of the season in recent years. But I thought out of interest, I get the Chelsea lineup from the fifth round last year. We've got Van Dijk, Gomez, Robertson and Nico as the back four. Fabinho, Lallana, Curtis Jones as midfield three, and Mane, Minamino, Divock start the game. And realistically, the one of the contributing factors to us losing that is Alisson's injured to Adrian's in goal. You know, that side was more than capable of progressing against Chelsea in that game. The 2-0 scoreline doesn't reflect that, but there was nothing wrong, I don't think, with that side, given that they themselves, you know, again, had a young lad in midfield. They had a couple of rotated players as well. So I do think that, you know, I think if we can get through Man United, and if we can then get a bit lucky or get through the next round against West Ham or Doncaster or whatever, then yeah, you could find that our understanding of how Klopp rates the FA Cup, we actually don't know how he rates it beyond the fifth round because he's never been beyond the fifth round.
That's exactly what I said before, Paul, isn't it? It's, you know, I think Klopp picks stronger sides because of the draws that we're getting, and we forget because we lose those games how strong the side is. It's a perfect example, that Chelsea side, isn't it? You know, I think Liverpool, and to go back to your point actually about Klopp hating the January football, I think he hates the draw that we're getting in the January Cup football. Yes. You might not like the idea of January football. I'm not going to debate that, but he probably would be quite happy with friggin' Marine in the third round of the FA Cup, because it means that he can play an entirely rotated side and get minutes in some of the lads who haven't had minutes in the legs over the Christmas period. The draw dictates how he feels about it. Aston Villa, you know, that was an interesting one because the team was the team, whether we played the first team or the kids. That's what Jurgen said. And now that's all based off who your next game is in the league and all that type of stuff. So there's always going to be extenuating circumstances, but he was going to pick a strong side because it was Aston Villa. Mm-hmm. If he'd have been told a week before that it was Aston Villa's kids, he might have done something completely different. Yeah. But, you know, all of his preparation went into that game thinking it was Aston Villa's first team and I want to get through. And it was still a little bit of a rotated side. And the idea was always, he said, always to play Henderson for 45 and Thiago for 45, whether it was the kids or it wasn't the kids.
Yeah,
so and take this competition seriously.
Yeah, and let's face it. I mean, you can look at this from several perspectives, of course. But you know, the team that we put out that eventually knocks Shrewsbury out is another team of children. But it goes to show that we refused to give up the winter break last year, which is the first time it ever been a thing, and Klopp decided to make a statement by adhering to the rules that it was meant to be a winter break. But it does go to show you, Ross, that if you get a Shrewsbury Town in the third round, you know, that's an opportunity for you to actually rest a bunch of players. You know, it's an opportunity to get to it's not, you're right, it's not necessarily, again, our understanding of the FA Cup is always marred by the fact that we get really difficult draws, and we've not necessarily shone in a lot of those environments. We put the players that are fit and available out in those games. We go for fitness over quality, I think, in those ties. And if you get a lower quality of opposition, you find that it's much easier to progress through the rounds when you're not playing Premier League teams, is kind of what I'm driving at.
Yeah, I suppose, you know, you can link into that, you know, those kids that play together, the fringe plays. One thing we always struggle with is the kind of rhythm and understanding of what they're supposed to do. And so it doesn't make for the greatest spectacle for us as fans. But also in those games, you get to develop your youngsters. So you could put an argument to say, well, would Curtis Jones be where he is now if it wasn't for the FA Cup or Carabao Cup or Nico Williams or, you know, Nat Phillips, arguably, because they wouldn't have had those experiences within those games. Yeah, that's what they're there for as well. You know, I say squad management again isn't just the first team. You know, he's trying to get all these lads together, and you especially in a season where you don't know what's going to happen, or like you said before, in May, whose legs are going to be working. You need to implement those into your side.
It's all fucking circumstantial. I'm convinced, and maybe not entirely 100%, because again, I think Liverpool and the Liverpool manager has no choice but to prioritise the league and the Champions League, because they mean too much, particularly to Liverpool's financial situation. You need to get out the groups, and you need to get into the last 16. You need to get beyond that, because it means too much to us to get that additional money, and the FA Cup does not buffer you against that. It's not an adequate replacement in those environments. But the idea that Pep Guardiola is somehow being held up as this model of like, well, he loves the FA Cup. He just loves the FA Cup because he's been more capable. We had some super chats there. Mansour Ahmed with the £2 super chat. Thank you so much, Mansour. Just, why can't we get draws like Man City? Always easy. Yeah, it is. It's hard. You can't help but just look at it. And we were saying last night that rigged was trending on Twitter last night, which I think says it all. And just to go back to Chris's jellyfish boy trick, Josh there saying, according to N. Pelosi, there are several fail-safes in place to stop Trump doing something that would risk life. Yeah, we'll see. Sean Blackmore says, I don't think Peter Crouch slept last night. I love that. It was one of my highlights of the draw was Bobby Clancy basically telling Peter Crouch off on Twitter for drawing Man United.
Did you see what he said? I'll sleep in the spare room then.
Yeah, straight to the spare room. Yeah. And Ashley Frith here with the £5 super chat saying, so bloody annoyed we got United in the cup. Typical fourth round Liverpool look. I hope Burnley do them tonight and we smash them at the weekend. Obviously we've got we know you've got United in that game, and just as one last point, and again we delved into this in much more detail over on the Redmen React special to the FA Cup draw on the redmentv.com right now. But obviously Burnley play United tonight. So they play United tonight, then they've got us at the weekend, then we've got Burnley midweek before United in the FA Cup game, and then the fifth round draw, I should say, is sandwiched between Man City and Leicester. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that shapes out for us. But on United, Ross, I hold no hope that Burnley will do anything in this game, but it is still a thing, and the hope for us is, regardless of how that result goes, them having that extra 90 minutes of football, and in addition to the other game that they played, they played the League Cup game last week against Manchester City. They played the game just before Christmas in the League Cup as well. The hope is that we'll start to see the creaking backs, knees, muscles and all that of Man United by the time we face them at the weekend. Yeah,
I hope so. I don't think it's helped. I think they've got Fulham away midweek next week as well, so they've got Burnley, us, Fulham, us, which, on paper looks quite easy, but you never know in the Premier League these days. I don't think we'll see that now, but I think we'll see that with Manchester United towards probably next month and a month after, when they start playing Europa League. We've already mentioned they've got extra rounds in that. If they go through in the FA Cup, then they've got another round to deal with now. So it's more football. I know they made a sign or two so far in the window, but again, for them, it's how do they handle that? Will the legs fall off them? If they go around in the fifth round of the FA Cup, does that mean that they slope off in a league? Well, if that's the case, then as much as it can be, I think I'm all right with that.
Yeah, I mean, Lauren, just in regards to the league, it's a massive game on Sunday. No, regardless of how they get on, in midweek or whatever, and without getting suckered into talking about the FA Cup stuff down the road, this is what it's all about. It feels to me very familiar. It feels very similar to the pre-Tottenham Hotspur sort of situation the way we were in, where everyone's talking about the team. Toward the other team, no one's talking about us in positive terms. Everyone's going like, how great are Tottenham, Jose Mourinho, what a brilliant job he's doing, are they ready? And now it's a similar situation with Manchester United. I think Liverpool will love that. I think this squad will love that, and they'll love an opportunity there right in front of us. Okay, not in front of fans, which is devastating, but on our own turf to really prove themselves there, that Man United are pretenders to the throne almost.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you said, everyone was talking about Tottenham for that game, and we're probably expecting Tottenham to win. And then, it's exactly the same this time around. Everyone's probably saying Man United are the favourites under the current circumstances. But like you said, our squad will probably thrive off that. Klopp hates people talking about us all the time. He'd rather just get on and just go out and do the business, which is most of the time works well in our favour. We've seen it before, and we were in this position similar time last year when we faced Man United, and it was a big game, and it was a must-win match, and here we are again, and I'm pretty sure the squad will be exactly in the same mindset as they were for that game. So yeah, I think it might work in our favour.
Yeah, you do. If nothing else, Chris, it's at home and it's against the top team. If it was away against a shit team, I'd probably be slightly more concerned given our form this season.
By our away form, mate, you're absolutely right, aren't you? And I think that's the big difference between this game last season. It was the away game, it was the Adam Lallana game, wasn't it, where we drew it, and this time around you fancy us in Anfield, but I can look at it, trying to look at it without the red tinted glasses on. I can see a world where Manchester United are really well set up for us. I think there's two styles of football here, and we saw it in exactly the same way as the Tottenham game, really. Manchester United are going to want to counter-attack Liverpool in this game at the weekend, and we've not got our best defence out, not got our fastest lads available, not got the lads who read the game quite as well. So if you look at the two styles, yes, we've got the Thiagos, the Firminos, the Salahs. It stands to be a brilliant game of football, and one where two styles clash really well with each other. And I think that Manchester United's probably weakest area of their side is defence. Liverpool's weakest area of their side is the defence. It promises to be a 0-0 draw now with that, doesn't it? I think that's the way these things always go. But no, I think I'm really looking forward to the game, and I want to be able to put Manchester United back in the place, Paul. And then I want to do it next week with a weekend side as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think that's there's a massive opportunity here to set. I mean, in the coming weeks in particular, I said it before, in terms of the fixtures, between now and the middle-ish of February, between now and the 20th of February, we play Manchester United twice, League and FA Cup. We play Spurs away. We've got Manchester City home. We've got Leicester away. We've got the start of the return of the Champions League, and then we've got the Ever home. That could just be. It's a massive spell of the season. Now, they're all massive spells of the season, and I'm sure in 6 weeks' time we'll be sat looking at the 6 weeks the following, going, "Oh, if we've got this, and this, and this." But this is where you get a chance to define how your season's going to go, I think. And particularly with the league, having those games in particular, they're all there's so many teams who are in and around us, and so they become. It's the the old cliched 6-pointer kind of situation. You're not just giving yourself a boost, but you're kicking another team and a competitor down at the same time.
Yeah, I think we've been in this position before as well. And in fact, I know we have been, because I've looked at the calendar upstairs in the office before and looked at the fixtures and gone, "Fucking hell, we're going to get through this." And then 3 weeks later, it's like, "Oh, that was all right, wasn't it?" We didn't lose a game. We were through in the Champions League. We've done it. So the players are well experienced, and maybe the rotation or having people coming back from injuries is a key time for this. Obviously, it won't be the likes of Van Dijk and Gomez for this, but even like a Jota, we're seeing what difference he's making and be able to rotate the front three. Him coming back at the end of January for that spell in February, particularly for the Champions League and stuff like that. He was in really good form, but it's something different. We're saying something different about Thiago before. We need something different for the front three as well, and to be able to mix that up a little bit. So I've no doubt Liverpool will use their experience, and it probably depends on that FA Cup. If you get through Manchester United, when we saw the Carabao Cup game just before Christmas and we weren't in it, when it got to that period, like, "Oh my God, thank fuck for that," because having a game, we've got a week off, but also the players got a bit of a rest, which didn't work out.
No, but it reminds me of, we've had seasons like this in the past where you look down the line of fixtures and you look at like how they're spaced, and you look at things like playing home and away and what have you, and you go, if you can get through this tough period at the start, then it should be the fixtures are geared more in your favour in the second half of the season. That's the reality of it now, but this is only a concept on paper. You would much rather now, in the back end of the season, where Liverpool are in the league, have Manchester United and Man City at home, without a doubt. If you the two of your toughest aways of the season, are, and in fact, let's be honest, Everton as well. Goodison Park is a notoriously difficult place for us to go. We've got all of those out the way. I would much rather now have those three fixtures at home than the flip reverse, and I would much rather be playing Manchester City and Manchester United in those spells, with them having played more games of football, having not had a pre-season. having not had time to to properly prepare and get the players up and running for it. I think there's a lot of luck they've had in certain regards, and look, Man City have had plenty of injury problems themselves, by the way, so I don't think they've been totally resistant to it, But yeah, in an ideal world, I should say, these are the small elements that if you could choose, you would choose them, and they are in Liverpool's favour. So it's going to be fascinating to see.
So we're signing the centre back as well.
Yeah, let's just sign a centre half as well, which is, by the way, it's quite clearly not happening. No. Let's all make our peace on that right now.
After the Red Games tomorrow.
I know. Well, we've got no choice, unfortunately. Gonna have to.
I cannot make my peace. No, not doing it. Not doing it. If I had some money, I'd give it to Klopp, but I don't, so I can't. Anyway.
Yeah. Soz. Yes, as Ross mentions, the Redsley's Roundup show is being recorded tomorrow. We're going to look into some of the rumours. There's been some interesting bits and pieces that have cropped up, so yeah, we will be discussing that on that show over on the redmentv.com. Also, don't forget, if you're not aware of this, Chris is doing a live Q&A ahead of the game at the weekend with the internet sensation that is the United Stand's Mark Goldbridge, 7:30 p.m, live right here on YouTube. You get your chance to get your questions in. That should be very,
with
very
sound, hopefully.
Yeah, with sound. There's a very niche joke for the 200 people who were here when we first tried this podcast today. But you can get involved with all that. It promises to be electric. Two of the brightest faces of the football YouTube scene going head to head live on the internet, with you getting to ask them questions that they'll probably answer, because let's face it, it's Chris Pajak and Mark Goldbridge. So yeah, do tune in for that. Set your calendars, get your date set in the calendars. Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Yes, we wanted to talk about this. Lauren, we've got you. Vicky Jepson has left her role as Liverpool women's boss. She said, "It's with a heavy heart that my time has come to an end with Liverpool Football Club, the place I love and have been lucky enough to call home for over a decade." What are your thoughts? What are your feelings on this?
Very surprised. Wasn't expecting it to happen now, as given the current situation with the league and us fighting to get back into the WSL. And it was a bit surprising. Vicky's been at Liverpool for, I think, since 2009. She's literally worked her way up through the club. She was at the centre of excellence, and then now was appointed first team manager a couple of seasons ago. So. Yeah, it's quite a difficult one to take, to be honest, because it wasn't expected, and for someone like Vicky, who's been so good to us personally, has been it's hard to take, I think.
What do you think the sort of prospects are now? Because I'm not a thorough follower of the women's game, nor the Liverpool women's side in particular, but it's been a tough the last 5 years has been a continual kick in the teeth for that squad, from being the champions, being completely dismantled, to the Neil Redfern debacle, and obviously Vicky Jepson felt very much like someone who fitted the club, understood the club, was very well liked, very well respected, but also there's no getting away from the struggles the team have continued to have on the pitch.
Yeah, it's been a tough season. I think we started this podcast right as Neil Redfern sort of dismantled the whole squad, and it all went wrong type of thing. But Vicky coming in was like a breath of fresh air, because she knew the club, she knew what was expected, and it was going well for a while. Obviously, last season was all over the place, and the relegation didn't exactly help us. But I wouldn't look at it as someone who couldn't do the job for us, and so I think that's just why it's so surprising that it's happened now with, I think, 9 games left of the season, the 9 games that we need to win in order to get back into the top flight.
Yeah, interesting stuff. If you want to keep up to date with more of this, of course, do check out our sister channel, RMTV Women's Pod. I'm sure you'll be covering a lot more of this stuff in the coming days, Lauren.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Kwasi, thank you so much to everyone who's joined us in the podcast. I've just had a shout through the wall. What was that, Si?
Super
chat. Ahern 8 hello. Would you prefer us to play the 4-2-3-1? Chris Pajak.
That's my Rick Mail impression for you. So I am always
Okay, cool, brilliant. Thanks so much for that. It's been a wonderful podcast. If you're listening on podcast apps, do leave a 5-star review. And if you want more fantastic content to keep you going through trying times, then do sign up on the redmentv.com. Check out the 50 greatest moments of the Jurgen Klopp era so far, a 2-part mini-series, as well as loads of other brilliant stuff that's on there. We've also got a range of fantastic merchandise that you can get hold of, a little bit of a closer focus on all that stuff. But yes, thank you so much for joining us. We're back with the podcast next week.